All right, I call the meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I motion we adopt the agenda as mailed.
Can we add that? Do we need to add?
Oh, nope, I apologize. We need to add an 8A to the agenda. And how did you word that?
Linden State Bank debit
Oh, yes.
promotion.
The Linden State Bank debit card promotion. Thank you for the reminder, even though you just told me I forgot to do that. I motion we adopt the agenda as mailed with the addition.
Second.
Williams.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye. All right, delegation. Do we want to have Amy?
You wanna do that
Amy,
now?
would you like to do that now?
I just wanted to introduce to you, we have a new UNISERV director from Capital, and she is our director for us here at our school for OCNEA. Lindsay Buck comes to us from Lawrence High School, where the last 2 years she has been a release president. She was also the NEA secretary treasurer for the last year. Or for KNEA, yes. And she originally came from Buckwell, Nebraska?
Burwell, close.
Burwell, close. And she's from a very small town, and we are thrilled to have her. She is our new USERV director as of July, right? August?
Yep, August.
And so, anyway, I just wanted to introduce you to her. You may see her around, and we absolutely love her and are excited to be able to work with her. So,
Awesome.
that was great.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
All right, any other delegation?
Don't worry, guys.
Oh,
Books just
oh,
needs
all
charged.
right.
Are you jump starting a car or what?
All right, do we have any questions or thoughts on the treasurer report?
That 191 is flow through for SPED, 3 Lakes, so that's what that is on that. I don't know of anything else that jumps out there.
The Speed Icon football helmets, that, and then there's another line item for like 14 football helmets. I assume all of that is football helmets.
Yeah, actually, that was last year's, they finally came in,
Okay.
so that was encumbered on last year's budget.
Okay.
So we just now got them, and so we're making that payment for those.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else, guys?
And then the cameras are part of the security.
Right.
Saw that, yeah.
Yeah, the INA alert, yeah. So that'll be, starting here in the spring, starting that installation, and hopefully have it done by summer.
All right, I motion that we adopt the minutes of the regular board meeting of December 14th, 2022. Adopt the treasurer's report, or approve the treasurer's report for December 31st, 2022. Replenish the petty cash in the elementary school, $27.39, in the middle school of $14. And the payment of the bills to be allowed in the total amount of $288,257.42 for January 11th, 2023, and the December 22 payroll in the amount of $490,916.05.
Parsons.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
All right, you want to introduce?
Yeah, so first up, we have a presentation from Mrs. Smith to talk about work keys. She has some assessment results she'd like to share with you and has some recognition, so appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so our primary primary goal is to educate students, but one of our other goals and focuses is on workplace skills and employability. So in order to assess how we're doing in that area, we take the Work Keys assessment, our juniors do, the state of Kansas pays for that. And in looking at our results, we had some very, very great scores. And so we're gonna visit about those here in just a second. A little bit more so you understand Work Keys, because it's not all in the title. It is a comprehensive employability skills assessment, and it's designed to help employers and individuals better understand workplace skills and their abilities. So employers will often have somebody take this test prior to employment, and then see where they're at, and that will be considered when are they being interviewed and things like that. And so we just went ahead and did it already, and several of our students did very, very well. But I would like to welcome Noah Lohmeyer and Gavin Roberts up here. Yeah, come on up. They both wanted to be first, that's good. Yeah, I thought so, yeah. So Gavin and Noah, I'm giving them a certificate of recognition. They both received platinum level, which is the highest you can possibly score. It's very near perfect, and it's very rare, and we had 2 of our students complete that, and I'm really proud of you guys.
Congrats, that's awesome.
They're happy for each other, so that's good. A lot of our students did really well, and we will recognize all of the students at the academic ceremony that we'll have in May. But these 2 were the highest scoring, and so all of our students that completed it and that will receive a certificate can attach that to their resume, and it lets them know what their abilities are in certain competencies before they even start, so. Yeah, they did great. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, congrats, guys. Great. All right, so for old business, we have our favorite topic, KSAB handbook policy updates.
So again, biannual recommendations from KSB. I shared this with you last month, give you time to look it over. How I interpret this is you're looking at 3 main things, are updating the complaint procedures, whether it's informal or formal. They break it down into 3 sections, which one being staff, what process the staff would go through, what process students would go through, and then just general complaints, which would be KN. If there's someone has a general complaint, there's a process to go through that. Kat had some questions on it, we've spoke, and I don't know if you want to bring those up again, or it really just lays out that process. If somebody were to, if we do go through the informal process, it can be resolved through that, then it doesn't need to take any steps after that. But if it's not resolved, then there's the formal process where the complainant makes a written, complaint. We do the investigation, go through that part. If it's not resolved through after that, depending on how the investigation goes, occurs, eventually you come to the board to make a decision based on the complaint that was due that. You would be the final step in that, and then the person making the complaint could take another step, but locally, you would be the appeal process to go through that if the complaint's made and not resolved, it would be brought to the board for their input on that as well. So, but this just really kind of clarifies that language and updates it because there's some of that going on, so it just updates that for them. So those are the 3 big ones. The GCRF just updates on how you can be granted leave for non-school employment, talking about the support programs and talking about homebound instruction in those and how that's cleared out, cleaned up that language is that. Added a new policy for classroom displays, basically saying they need to be classroom appropriate and related to the content being taught in that, and that it is under district control if we deem it as not related to content or to the classroom, that the district has the authority to ask that to be taken down. So that will be a new policy. And JBE is they basically in truancy, they remove the exceptional child Basically, before it said children with disability or exception child could be exempt from truancy is kind of how the policy read, but that's not necessarily the case, because if it's not a manifestation of their disability, they can still be held accountable for truancy. And so that basically just cleans that up on JPE. JCE, talked about, that's for students, updating that language for complaints. JDD just clearly talks about when the appeal hearing needs to be held within the 20 days. And that, it just clarifies that in JDD. And then again, KN complaints is similar to GAAP, which was staff, and JCE, which is students, and KN is just general. And then they deleted the policy of family night. They didn't feel like it needed to be put in there. So making the recommendation to adopt these revisions for our district policy. Any questions or comments?
Okay, I move that we approve the recommendations on the policy updates.
Second.
Williams,
Aye.
Bellinger,
Aye.
Parsons,
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Heppenstall,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye. I was just kidding, that wasn't our favorite topic. The audit of our financials is our favorite topic.
Competition.
I know, that's so me, yeah. How are you?
I'm standing on this side.
Okay, I'll stay here unless you need me.
No, you're fine, yeah, you can see, no, that's. Oh, well, the guys over here can't see you, I think that's. Yeah, that's why, yeah, thank you.
Over here.
Yes, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jessica Lindsley with Varney and Associates CPAs, and I'm here to present your June 30, 2022 audit. So I just want to thank Patty for all her help while we were out here. It's been a couple months, and so we're just kind of waiting for this board meeting. But hopefully you've all received a copy of the audit report, so you've had a chance to look at it. Let me know if you have any questions, and you can stop me at any point. I'll kind of just quickly go over most of the kind of general information, and then talk more in detail about the federal audit that we were required to do this year, because that's something new that your district had to do. So there is a 3-page governance letter. This letter is from our firm to you as the oversight of the board, and I'll say up front, like, we had no issues, we had no findings, it was a very clean audit. And so if we had anything that we felt that needed to be communicated to you as the board, that's where this would, that would be. But it's just the standard language and what we're required to get to you, so. And then I'll move forward to the actual audit report. Let's see here. On page 1, this is your independent auditor's report. It looks a little bit different if you've been here in the past. We just had some auditing changes, and so the opinions are now at the very top right away. So you can tell what kind of a report it is. You do report under the KMAG basis, which is the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide. And so under the 3rd paragraph, we do say, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects in regards to the KMAG model. So that's a clean opinion. Below that, we do say it's conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, KMAG, and this year in accordance with government auditing standards, and that's because of the single audit that was required, which is the federal audit, which is a first for the district. So, in addition, on page 3, there are 2 new paragraphs this year. Again, this relates to the federal audit. The first one discusses the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. We call that the CFA, and I'll kind of go into detail what that is, but that just lists out all of your federal grants and the amount that was expended during the year. And so we had a clean opinion on that as well. And then we do have an additional couple reports in the back of the report for the government auditing standards, and then the compliance requirements that we're required to pass. Following that is your statement one. This, is your financial statement and lists out all of your funds on the left-hand side. And then you have your beginning cash, your total receipts, expenditures, and then the ending cash. You didn't have a lot of changes, this year. You did expend more in the, the federal funds. You had more in the ESSER, and food service was up. But other than that, most of the funds were pretty consistent from the prior year. Not a lot of change in the cash, for those. Let's see, there are a couple very, very small, grant funds that were negative, but those are allowed to be negative because you're gonna be receiving grant reimbursements for those, and so there's no budget or cash violation for that. Following that, you'll see the actual reconciliation with your bank accounts, and that's how we reconcile to that statement to your actual cash in your bank statements. And following that are the notes to the financial statements. Again, we really didn't have very minimal changes on these. These are gonna be pretty standard year to year. And so I probably won't go through that. We had no violations of Kansas statutes. They're all pretty standard language. Following that is your Schedule 1. This is your budgeted funds, and it compares your budget to your actual expenditures. And it does take into account your legal max and budget credits. So on the right-hand side, you'll see they all are within that parentheses, and that just means you are under budget in all of your funds. So there are no budget violations. And then following that on page 15, this is where we start to get into the actual detail of those funds that we saw on your statement 1. So we start off with the general fund, and it will go through the actual line items, like your budget line items. For those specific funds, we'll start with receipts at the top, and then we go through the expenditures. We do that for every fund. So there's a Schedule 2 for every fund that we saw on that big statement on the beginning, and that's where those numbers are coming from. It's just more detailed versus the summary information. And again, if there's a specific fund that you'd like me to kind of discuss, I could do that, but these will relate directly from your budget into the actual expenditures. And then I would like to kind of jump to the federal audit portion, as that's kind of the big change this year. So those start on page 34. We're just skipping all those Schedule 2s. When we do a federal audit, this is something different from a financial. We do have to test controls as well as any compliance requirements. And so this report, starting on page 34, is what we call the Government Auditing Standards Report. And this discusses the internal control factors. And so we're looking at reviews and approvals, what kind of internal controls that you have in place to kind of protect those federal funds and to make sure that they're being used for their intended purposes. And so it discusses the different types of internal control issues you could have, material weaknesses, significant deficiencies. On page 35, in that first paragraph at the very last sentence, the results of our test disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that we felt throughout our testing. So that's basically saying we didn't find anything on the internal control side. Whereas if we move to page 36, this one's talking specifically about those compliance requirements. And so when we do a single audit, we get guidance from the federal government on what compliance requirements are important for that specific grant that we're testing. And so then we have to go through different areas for those compliance requirements and make sure there's no instances of non-compliance. And so that's what that report is kind of explaining there. There is an opinion at the bottom of that, that we did not have any issues on those compliance requirements. Following that is what I mentioned earlier, the CFA. That's going to list out all of your federal grants, to the page, and the total amount that you expended. So when we look at a federal audit, we're looking at expenses versus receipts, and so those are the different grants that you expended during the year, with the biggest one being the ESSER fund, and so that's the one that we tested this year for the single audit. There are some additional notes for the CFA, and then the very last page, it goes through if there were any material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, either on the control side or the compliance side, that's where those would be listed. And it lists an unmodified opinion is a clean opinion, and then it names that we tested the ESSER fund and that there were no findings.
Okay, so I'm curious for the ESSER fund, did you do that for other school districts as well? Because I feel like that's a big win,
Yes.
that there were no findings with, hey, here's all the regulations underneath ESSER and you had nothing. So I didn't know if you can compare us to other school districts and kind of give props to the team.
Well, yeah, absolutely, good props to the team. ESSER was no small feat.
Yeah.
I think KSD themselves were kind of over their heads. I will say, we audit like 35 schools, and there's just a handful that didn't have a single audit this year, and most of it was ESSER. Some of them were food service just because they got the additional funding for that with the free meals, but with ESSER, from school district to school district, KSD kind of treated reporting and things differently, and I think they were trying to figure out the requirements themselves. So, but the funds are coming from the federal government down to the state, down to the districts, and so they have their own responsibilities in regards to federal audits and things too. So props to the team, and kind of go, I know it's a lot of work, it was a lot of work for everybody, just reporting and the grant tracking, and you have to keep that all separate. So yes, they did a very, very good job.
Awesome.
Well, good job, guys.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right,
Any other questions or? All right, and we're available anytime throughout the year if any board members ever have questions or just kind of want to run stuff by us, so reach out anytime.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, next.
Do we need to take action on that?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot we took action on that. I motion that we approve the 2022 audit of our financial statements.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
All right, so next is the resolution of board elections. We did change it, I believe, last year to be a January through December, or January to January versus July.
Do we have to do that each year?
Yeah, you have to
So do I just make a motion to adopt? Okay. I make a motion that we adopt the resolution for board elections at the first meeting on or after the second Monday in January, which is the Monday is January 9th, for the next board meeting day if the board does not meet on the second Monday in January, which would be tonight.
Second.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
All right, so now we need to elect a president, then vice president.
Nominate Kelly Bowen as president.
Second.
Okay. Parsons.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. I'll stay seated here. Okay, one more year. And I get to sign Brecken's diploma, so I'm very excited about that, so, assuming he's graduates. Just kidding, everyone. Okay, I motion that Todd Peterson is vice president.
I decline that.
Decline?
Yeah.
Okay,
I would nominate PJ. Second.
all right.
Okay. Bowen.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
All right. Was I first? I know, short-term memory. Awesome. Okay, that part is done.
And we'll need to sign this before you leave tonight.
Excellent. And then the next resolution is the board meeting time and dates. I'm assuming this, we marked it to keep it the same. Yeah. The Monday messes me up when I read it, so. I motion that we adopt the resolution of the board's regular meeting dates as the second Wednesday of the month at 7 PM in the media center.
Second.
Peterson.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
All right. Track respray.
So one thing that Troy said needed to get done coming in was the respray of the track. It's 10 years old. A respray would extend the life another 8 to 10 years. So we talked about this before prior to, decided by the board to put it out to bid. Sent the bids out to 6 companies, only got 2 responses back, the 2 that I've been communicating with. But that would be, basically it's a respray, add additional track to the top of the track, and then to repaint the track and to do that, to extend that life. So McConnell and Associates was the lowest bid at $1,118 and $234, excuse me, $118,234. I recommend that we go with that bid, based on the as the submitted for, to follow the bid that was sent out, so.
Is there any preparation we have to do prior to them coming?
The track is in really good shape. There might have to be some cleaning up around the grass and different things, but there's no loose areas in that review that we did. So it should be pretty simple. There's a one low spot that might have have to put some additional stuff in there, but there's no really prep to do that. They'll just have to do that. But other than that, the track is in good shape, but this will just extend the track.
No cleaning or anything?
I don't think so. It'd be on them to do that, to clean it, but there's no loose pieces or anything that they would have to really do a lot to, because it's in good shape. This just will extend the life of that. And this would include the runways as well and the throwing areas as part of that respray.
It's hard to believe it's been 10 years.
I know. And with the timing of us approving this, we can get on the schedule for this
Yeah, this summer, yes.
Okay, great.
Is this the same company that did it the first time?
Yeah, they're the ones that did the install, yes.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I move that we approve the recommendation of McConnell, is it McConnell? And Associates for the track respray.
Second.
Bowen.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
All right, Ted, if you want to take us through the MOU between the city.
All right, with the purchase of the robot paint sprayer, we're, as part of that agreement, we're going in 50-50 with that first year of payment with the city to do that. And the city requested an MOU, which I thought was good. We haven't done this in the past, so I reached out to KSB to put together this MOU. So through the information shared, they created that. I sent it to the city for their review. Their lawyer looked at it, had a couple tweaks that we added to that. And basically it designates that it'll be 50-50. The district will be the primary as the owner of the robot. There is an out for the city. If they want to get out, they have to notify us. There's also an out for us. If the city dropped and we didn't want to keep it, we can also get out of the agreement with a 90-day notice as well to do that. So this really just lays it out, like who will be responsible for things. If something goes wrong, the city will notify the school. We will call the company and go through that. Where it's being stored, primary in the spring and the summer, the city will need to have it where it's accessible for them, so we'll have it that way. And any cleanup and detail. Also lays out, just people that are trained will be allowed to use the robot as part of this process to do that. So the MOU just lays that out. And I don't know if the city approved it last night.
They did.
Okay, I had not heard, so. Putting this as an agreement for the use and sharing of the robot.
And year one, we split the cost, year 2 through 6, it's based on usage?
Yeah, so we'll monitor usage of, and compare that, and we'll, and work with the city on that.
Do we have any idea how we think that will play out? Corey, do you have?
I was gonna say,
any-
Courtney,
I really don't.
I figured they could monitor, I mean, that it could be an internal thing where you could, realize how many hours or how much time it's used.
Yeah, we'll come up with a cause with summer, how many ball games they play and how many times that'll have to be used for the fields, and we have so many games, and, track needs to be done at certain different times to, it just depends, and so I really don't know what that will break out to when it comes right down to it, so. But we will monitor and keep you guys informed.
We'll have a method.
Yeah. Once we haven't been trained on that, so once we kind of see what that is, we'll come up with a process to monitor and to monitor usage, so.
Okay, any other questions?
I found the MOU really helpful.
I did too.
Yeah, KSB threw that together for us, so, they do them a lot for us, so it's nice to reach out to them and then having their lawyer look at it as well, so there's some eyes on it, so that's good.
Okay, I move that we approve the MOU between USD 420 and the city of Osage on the robot usage.
Second.
Linton,
Me? Oh, approve, sorry. Aye, there you go.
Wrong meeting.
Peterson. Heppenstall. Bellinger.
Aye.
Parsons. Bowen.
Aye.
Williams.
Food study.
No, academic calendar first.
Oh, did you? Oh, I was looking at this, sorry.
Yeah.
Wrong thing. Hold please. Calendar update. And that's what, I got it. That's why you said 8A and didn't mention, okay,
Okay.
calendar update.
Yeah, so academic calendar, just want to give you an update where we're at. So I met with some PDC members today that on the teacher side. And the process I go through is I create multiple calendars to really look at maybe doing something different every year. So I've created those calendars. The first calendar is just a carbon copy of this year. So that's the first where you kind of start off as the base. Calendar B is removal of the collaboration days. Something to think about, if we're gonna be a collaboration school, I think we need to be a full commitment, and 4 days throughout the year is not a commitment to me. So I've taken those out, and then built the schedule through that, the calendar through that. And the third calendar is just kind of tweaking some things with removing the contingent snow days. Don't call them contingent, like Smoke in the Spring, that day, it'd still be a no school day. But when it really comes down to it, the calendar is based on hours. And we have to have a minimum of 1,116 hours, and we have to meet that. Yes, we have a contract we have to follow that's in place, the master agreement, and we're gonna do that and follow it. And we might have to do some negotiating with the calendar if there's some major changes to this. But the third calendar is basically moving the last day of the semester to a half student contact day, a half work day. And then the first day of the semester back is a professional development day to get some professional development. And then looking at parent-teacher conferences different in the spring, which would be a half student contact day, and then parent-teacher conferences in the evening. It's really just a matter of getting this ball rolling of a conversation. So I presented this to the PDC committees. I've met with 6 of them today. I have 2 more meetings tomorrow, and I'm gonna give it to them to go take to their colleagues to talk about. We've met as an admin team. They've given their input. And then we'll bring that to the board we'll come back together once the PDC has had time to go and talk and get feedback. And then we'll come back together as a team on that committee and talk about, what that to hopefully get to a calendar. I'm not looking to, upset the apple cart. It's just an opportunity to maybe do something different with the change in leadership and to do that. Maybe it doesn't change, I don't know. But I think, the staff wants to have this conversation, the admin's given their input, we can look at doing something different. Again, I'm not looking for radical change, it's just the process we're going through to really look at the calendar to maybe do something different and talk it through. So that's where we're at. Hopefully we have a recommendation for next month that we can get the calendar approved. you know, if there's some major changes, you know, we might have to do negotiations before we actually get the calendar approved. Again, not looking to upset the apple cart, but just if now is the time with some change to maybe look at it differently. So we have some things we have to follow in the master agreement, which we will. But if there's some tweaks that we can make working with the association and the teachers, that's better. That's good for kids. That's where I operate when I build a calendar. What's good for kids? I do take the adults into consideration, but really it's about that. How much student contact time can we get with kids that fits within the agreement? And that's where I really operate when it comes to the calendar. So hopefully we have something next month. That's the goal, but if not, because of some different changes or things, we might have to put it off till we get negotiations done too. Questions about the calendar? The board will have input as well, once we kind of get that feedback from the teachers, obviously, so, but I'll share that with you when I get that feedback from the staff. So you guys have anything to add on the calendar?
No, I mean, really, I just think that moving that last day before winter break would be kind of nice from a high school standpoint if we had a half a day, so then the kids dismiss, and then that gives teachers the rest of the day to kind of get their grades done, so then their grades are done like before the kids leave for winter break, because to me, that's just always kind of a funky situation, especially in the high school level, because then you're coming back and starting a new semester, so it just gets kind of, I don't know, kind of funky there when you're taking 2 weeks and then you're coming back and you're finishing grades.
So those things like parent-teacher conferences, what's the best way to do that? You know, can we do that differently? You know, just all those, I made a whole list of things for them to talk about and think about, so we'll bring that information to you guys at some point.
Right, excellent. Now the food service study update.
Yeah, so as part of coming in, this was requested to you know, look into a food service management coming into the district. We reached out to OPA, who's a food service management provider. They did a feasibility study, and I shared the results of that for you. Patty shared a lot of information with them to do this feasibility study, to provide this information to go through. So we'll kind of go through it in the summary that they've given. Talked about the strengths. You know, we've had stable food service balance for years, it sounds like. I mean, that's been a good positive for the district, and that's been stable for that. And then the staff we have are long-term experience, you know our kids and do a good job with that. If there's any concerns, it's just that there are some staff that have been with the district a long time, and there'll be some transitioning out with them retiring in a few years. Not sure when that'll be, but if that's a concern, that's something we'll have to deal with as a district. So the goal is obviously to continue serving quality meals to students and staff. As you know, we made some changes coming back from the semester, adding another entree option, hearing some good feedback. We're still working through some kinks on that. With just, making sure kids sign up, and there's no way to individually track. I signed up for option 1, but by the time I got in line, I changed my mind to option 2, and they say option 2. And so it's something that, but our staff in the cafeteria they've dealt with this, so they can plan and adjust to do that. So, but we're working on things to provide good quality meals, for the students and staff. So you can see that in the overall financial position, and Jack is a former superintendent, so he understands school budgets and pulls this out of what the last 3 years have been for the district as it relates to the food service, or actually 4 years prior, budget based on revenues and expenditures. And if you look at that, it's pretty stable. I don't know if Patty has more history with it than I do, obviously, but we've been very good with food service, and
We always have well over 3 million carryover.
we've never had, I wouldn't say never, but have rarely had the general fund transfer to support food service.
It's sufficient for itself.
So based on that information, they have a formula that comes up with labor, meals per labor hour is what that is. And our district was found to have between 11.78 to meals per labor hour at a $14.81 hour average. what their goal as OPA's goal is 12.15 meals per labor hour. So we're pretty close. And you can see that in that information that they talk about. If we can, you know, with our staff that we have with a lot of experience, you know, that's a little more money because they've been here a long time and to do that. So that balance of, it's based on a per meal cost, and then you have your labor part of that. So if some changes do, you know, there could be some savings over time based on staff retiring or moving on and hiring in and do that. And that next part, or the participation, if you get participation up, you could see that to do that. But you know, we're pretty close to what their goal of 12.15 is their goal as a meals per labor hour for a company. So we're pretty close to that, which I thought was good, based on our local service. So when it talks about food position, you know, that's one advantage going with a food service management company is they're buying in bulk, and there's some savings costs there. You know, as he says there wouldn't be sufficient to cover management because their director would have to be employed with OPA, and so he doesn't see that weighing out, is how I took that, or being a cost savings there, based on the director they would have in place. So it gives you, the next bullet gives you the participation. Our participation is about 63% at lunch on average and 18%. Their goal is 75% at lunch participation, and breakfast is 35%. So could we bump some of those numbers up? Yeah, that's something we could look at locally of doing. You know, this option, I'm hearing more kids are eating with that at school because of the second option. Again, I haven't been doing long enough to really track that, but is that going to bump percentage up as we look for that for lunch and looking at it at breakfast as well? But you can see, you know, with the increased participation could be increased, you know, profit for them, which is less for us. So at the bottom, it talked about a projected savings. From there, they would project over time that the district could possibly save up to $22,000, but that would be over time, depending on staffing, and obviously food costs is a major issue right now. It's going through the roof. I asked what would be, you know, a district our size, what would you see as a savings for districts? And he said anywhere between 50 to 55,000 is what they would average, you know, a district our size to come. But with our food service in a good place, you know, our staff is experienced, you know, that, you know, we're pretty close, you know, we're much lower in what the savings could be. And that would all, again, be dependent over time as it relates to where that savings could come from as we do that. So, so any questions about the feasibility study?
And this is something we can have them look at any point in time, or it's kind of annual basis if we decide, hey, we've got another set of numbers, another set of data.
I mean, I assume we could ask for the feasibility study at any time. It's really, I'll talk about the next steps if we were to go forward, but I assume you could. Or we could provide the numbers and,
Year from now.
yeah, if they could.
Just to see where.
Yeah, we could, oh yeah, definitely, we could throw it, I'm sure Jack would do it for us, I know Jack from way back, so I'm sure we'd give him the numbers and he'd plug it in there for us. It was about a month turnaround, wasn't it, on it?
Well, we hit the holiday area, so it might have been a
Yeah,
little bit longer than that.
I would say when I read over it, I was impressed. I mean, I already knew that we had great management of funds within, so I was happy to see that based on this, they had shown that as well. And also, I've been in enough strategy meetings in my life to know that, oh, you could make money if you do this.
Yeah, right,
and
right.
you're actually putting the meat behind doing that is a little more difficult than just saying adding 5% is actually getting there is half the battle or more than half the battle. But
If I can add something, when they talk about the participation, they want our lunch to be about 75%, we're at 63 now. We have open lunch.
yeah, sorry, thank you for bringing that up.
So that is why our percentages are higher. You know, if we closed open lunch, yeah, we'd probably be at 75%.
and then you'd have a revolt of every older high school student, and that would go over real well.
Have a starving Williams kid on their hands.
I was gonna say, my son definitely eats the lunch and then opens it up, yeah.
If you could have 2 or 3 entrees, might make it work.
Yeah. Gotcha, I see what you're saying.
But yeah, if we did have closed lunch, we would be close to that 75%.
So I'm not recommending us to transition or look to put this out to an RFP, because that would be the next step. If we were to do this, we'd be contacting KSDE, the food service portion of that, and there's a whole process to go through to do an RFP based on their procedures to do that. And then OPA they would be basically a bidder, so we couldn't talk to them anymore because they would be potentially bidding on this. But KSD, yeah, and they just offer that service to districts to do that. But from this point forward, if we were to move forward with the RFP process, we'd be on our own working with KSDE to go through the process of putting out the RFP based on their criteria and standards that they have and the information. But there were some decisions that the board would have to make on some specific things that relates to that RFP. But based on this and the information and the willingness of Betsy and her leadership to really look at some things and doing differently and being open to that, I just don't see that. I'm not recommending us considering that at this time.
I think this was a good due diligence.
I'm glad we did it, yeah. I'm glad it was recommended, I really do. But at this time, I'm not recommending to go to food service.
Is there other food service companies out there?
There's a couple out there. I think OPA has primarily, and there's one company that has maybe 2 or 3 districts in the decision of who was gonna be those representatives other than Kelly. And then, so looking for that so we can start this process.
Dave, do you have any conflicts?
Time mainly.
Yeah.
And we can make, we could do it virtually, bring you into the meetings and be a part of that. I mean, there's ways to do that, so you can take part in those. I mean, I don't know how flexible your schedule is, but there is ways to do that where you can be part of the meetings virtually in today's, society.
PJ? I don't have a problem doing it.
If you want to, that's great.
Way to pass the football.
I know.
Dave said he'd do it if I did it.
Oh, if you do it to get,
He's got a voice in his head.
oh. I'm okay with just do it. I mean, I think 2 is sufficient.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thanks.
I'm there.
PJ.
I'm there.
So,
Yeah, just take action on that to
so.
designate you.
So we will like to designate Kelly and PJ as the board member representatives for negotiations.
Second.
I move.
So Kelly, that was a motion.
That was a motion. I moved it after the statement.
All right. Parsons.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
All right, 8A, Linden State Bank debit card promotion.
So David Thornburg contacted me yesterday. I was out of the office, so I called him back today. He's talked to me. He wanted to sit and meet with me to talk about, they have debit cards with school logo, district logo is on that. Meridazine has it, I think Linden, different districts. And I was, when they kind of got this rolling, I was at Meridazine, so I was familiar with the program to do that. So we're getting permission for them to do that, to use our logo on debit cards. But as part of that promotion that they'll have, any debit card transaction that takes place with that debit card with the logo on it, and it's a written transaction, they will give 1 cent to the school as part of, just give back for that opportunity. He says he's had a lot of customers requesting this that use their bank from Osage City and have connections to our district, and so they're requesting that. My recommendation is to use those funds to support student services at the different buildings, depending on that amount. If we could rotate it every year, high school gets it 1, then elementary, or if it's a large sum, depending on what that is, we can break it up into 3s and they can use it for student incentives, is my recommendation for that. It's really, that's all it is, just giving permission to use our logo, and that we would accept the donation, based on the promotion that they have.
Can you repeat what the donation is?
It's a 1 cent for every transaction for the that debit cards used, but it can't just be a point of sale. They have to sign for, that's where the caveat is, they sign for their purchase, and then that would go to the 1 cent for that, so if you took
Not
both,
gonna be,
yeah, so if you.
but it could be.
Negotiate.
Yeah, I don't know, I think that's how they have it, so. But I know other districts do that in the area, and it's a good, people like carrying, OC will have, on their debit card, so that would be kind of cool to see. And then it will benefit the district through a donation from Linden State Bank. And they bring a big check at a basketball game and present it, or a football game, depending on what it is.
So it's an annual donation?
Yeah, that's what it's been at other districts.
That's
So.
awesome.
But I recommend that we use it for student services at the buildings.
Okay, I motion that we approve, letting Linden State Bank use our logo on their cards and using the money for student incentives.
Second.
Peterson.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
All right, building reports is our next thing. Does anybody have any questions, or do you guys have any?
I do have updates. So, we finally were able to put together our honor roll list. Let me get to that really quick. And our Board of Education, we had 32 students, so that means they had a GPA of 4.0. We had 58 students who made the superintendent's honor roll, which is a GPA of 3.5 to 3.9. And then we had 45 students in the high school who made the principal's honor roll, which is a GPA of 3.0 to 3.49, so that was good. And then I just really like to, I'm super excited because our state debate students will be leaving Friday, so we're gonna do a little celebration for them, kind of like we do all of ours. And so I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at that January board report, but those students are Ellie Shoemaker, Sadie Shoemaker, Madeline Renfro, Gracie Smith, and then the alternatives are Ava Palacio and Allie Neary. So they will be leaving with Mr. Stuckey on Friday, so that's super exciting. And then also just that, if you weren't at the game last night, that tragic loss that the boys had at the end. But there was some positive that came out of it, that Landon Boss was invited to play with the Shriners, so that was kind of a cool experience for him, and he did a great job at speaking in front of our community last night.
He did do good. It was good, thank you.
You guys have anything? Updates?
Nope, I think we got mine.
I got a big old stack of honor roll certificates on my desk to sign, so I don't know how many right now, but there's too many. I'll let you know when my
Executive
hands
session, I want to invite Tim
done signing.
to stay.
Okay.
Do we have a stamp for that?
I'd like to hand sign each one of them.
I found out I don't have to sign each diploma today. I was like, to sign everyone. So,
Oh, it's a bigger district. Huh?
yeah.
Okay. Superintendent report.
Okay, a few items for you. Hope everyone had a good break. It was long and, but good and much needed, so come back recharged. But one thing before the break in my newsletter article that I submitted was talking about school attendance matters, ever since COVID, we're seeing a lot of attendance issues and we're struggling with, just that in general and looking at updating some policies for next school year as it relates to truancy and different things. But I shared this with, the admin team, and Mrs. Paul's like, our families need to see this information. And it's, does everybody read the newsletter? So I said, I'd bring it up at a board meeting to really talk about this. And maybe it turns into a board goal as we get to that point with some strategic planning for you guys to have some information on it. But in that, news article, I talked about, 19.83% of Osage City students were chronically absent in the 21-22 school year. Almost 20%. And meaning they missed 10 days or more. That's considered chronic absenteeism. That's something we'll be looking at in the policy in the future, that if we have it in, our policy that says if you miss 10 more days, even if they're excused, you could be turned in truant because that violates our policy of you need to be in attendance. Is 10 day that number? Is it 20? I don't know. That's something we can talk about as a board, but you know, almost 20% of kids were chronically absent, meaning they were gone, you know, just gone. That doesn't include unexcused and different things. So I shared some information about, you know, the facts about school attendance, but I shared with you you know, a pic, I guess you could call it, of talking about attendance matters. And it talks about, you know, in this graph or graphic that missing a day of school here and there may not seem like much, but absences add up. So when a student misses 2 days a month, that means they'll miss 20 days in a year, in a school year. They will miss 30 hours of math over a school year and 60 hours of reading and writing over the school year. And then through their time in school, they would miss up to a year of school over during their time in school, from the kindergarten to seniors. They'd miss out a whole year of school, just 2 days a month if they miss. Obviously, if that's, you know, goes to 4 days a month, it doubles, you're up to 2 years. And we know the most important factor in student achievement is the teacher in the classroom. And our teachers are awesome, and they're there to teach our kids. And if our kids are missing that, they're getting behind. And our teachers take pride in that. Okay, we got to get them caught up. We got to get them where everybody else is, even if they're gone, because they want everybody to succeed. And I thought it was insightful to Dina about, we need to bring this up publicly and really talk about that. And I shared with you our chronic absenteeism for last school year, or 2021, excuse me. And you can see the comparison there. We are below the state average, which is a good thing if you look at it, the district. But if you look at, there's some areas where we're above the state average, like our seniors. You know, 50% in 2021 were considered chronically absent in seniors. So what that, you know, that's, you know, Natasha's thinking of things of what do we do to get them to show up? You know, same way with the juniors, they were over. Our freshmen were over as well, the state average. So, you know, some concerned areas, so really to evaluate that. So, you know, attendance matters, we know that. And it's important we show up, you know, and we do those things. And I believe we have a system in place that is inviting to students. If they have social emotional issues, we're trying to deal with that to help them want to be here and not be afraid to come to school because of a situation, whatever. And we have those tools in place with our counselors and our administrators and all the support pieces. But it's something we really, I think down the road here in the near future, really, the board might consider it to be a factor in board goals as we share information. So I don't know if you guys want to add anything about attendance or.
Yeah, my thing is just, it's very frustrating from an elementary principal standpoint, just because my kids can't drive themselves to school. So the only people that can get them to school is our bus drivers. But even then, the kids have got to get out to the bus, and sometimes if the parents don't wake them up, or they just refuse, you know, the kid refuses to go to school and the parents are okay with that, that can be a problem in their learning. And to me, it's just, it becomes a real bad habit, and I don't want my parents to think that school's not important, because school's very important. I think that this district really has a huge foundation, and has had a huge foundation, because I grew up in this district of, you know, everybody went to school, and you were very, you know, had a lot of pride for Osage City, and I just feel like sometimes our parents don't quite feel that anymore about our city, and I don't want that to be a habit. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I think a focus needs to be made on it.
Do we have this poster like anywhere for like basketball games where parents coming in?
No, that's a good idea. You know, I was gonna have Kylie share it out there and on their social media, different things, but yeah, we can get that graphic up in different areas. But I think it's just something to plan, you know, to be something to think about, is that if that, we need to have a district focus on that in the future. So, but yeah, we can start putting up some media and things about that.
And just for a level setting here, so when we talk about, you know, someone's maybe gone for 10% or more of school for any reason, so does that, I'm assuming that includes sickness?
Yep.
So excused or unexcused?
Right.
But would it also include, you know, hey, I gotta take my kid out for a couple hours for a doctor's appointment, like, does that get?
It all adds up. Gone's gone. As I tell these guys, gone's gone. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, Natasha has some incentives built in, and kids are like, oh, but I had to do this, or I had to do, well, you're gone, you're still gone. Gone is gone, whether excused or unexcused. And that's what this, you know, chronically absent tells you, you know, how much are you gone?
Does that include athletics?
No, that school excuse is not included in that. So, but if you're gone absent for sick or doctor or, unfortunately funeral, you can't control that, but.
School events.
Yes,
school events.
yeah, so, but school events aren't, they're considered school excuse, so. But, it's just that importance of, showing up, and if you really need to be gone, sometimes you're sick, okay, yeah, we don't want you showing up sick. But if you're showing up regularly, then you can be sick a few days and you're not missing out. But just that awareness of that, how important it is to show up. And you saw, got 2 kids platinum. I mean, that's a big deal. They're work ready. Doesn't matter what job. They can work any job because they've demonstrated through the assessment, they have the skills. I'm pretty sure those 2, I don't know them that well, but I'm sure they're showing up on a regular basis. And those got that feeds off of that. So just want to make you aware of that, want to talk about it publicly, and something we'll be looking into and trying to address as a district, and definitely in the buildings, but if it needs to be district focus, we can consider that later date, so. Any other questions about that?
Can parents request a bus to come by at any point throughout the year, or is it just like, hey, you sign up at the beginning of the year?
No, they can, if transportation's needed, then we can.
So if there's any parent out there
Yeah.
that's like, hey, my situation has changed.
Yeah, right, yeah, we have that, yeah. Or they move and, it's different, so we make adjustments and they can get added to the list, so. All right, we're having our year 5 KISA visit on January 23rd. I finally got the 3 OVT members, got a date secured for that. So we met today. Kylie's gonna do a presentation on that morning. We're gonna meet at 9 o'clock. Admin team will be there to answer questions and go through that. They have to fill in a few boxes is all they'll need to do because they have a good awareness of our district. I see no issues with our accreditation in any way, shape or form. Kylie's done a great job. So she's just gonna keep that ball rolling as we end this cycle. So that will take January 23rd. That report will be submitted to the ARC, the Accreditation Review Committee at KSDE. They will review that, go through all that information, and then make the recommendation to the State Board of Ed, whether we should be accredited or not as a district. So it'll take a little bit of time. They have 175 districts they're accrediting this year. So hopefully we have some quick turnaround on that.
Excellent.
Just an update, they started roof repair on the middle school gym this week, so they're up there working and making some noise and trying to get that done, so that repair has started.
Speaking of gym roofs, can we get an update on the HVAC sometime for we never did get that project done, did we?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Did we get it done?
It was right when we started, right before COVID, I think.
Yeah, we were able to use COVID money to make that
I
happen.
didn't know it ever happened.
It did.
Okay.
It happened right after the hottest graduation in the history of graduations.
Yeah. Anything else, Todd? Sorry.
No, that's it.
Okay, that's all right. And lastly, January is Board Appreciation Month, school board members. I shared with you a proclamation from the governor designating January as School Board Member Month. We just want to take this opportunity to thank you for serving our kids, supporting our staff, being that liaison between the community to do what's best for kids. So I just want to thank you. I know our administrators want to thank you for your service. We talked, Kelly and I just thought that just the recognition would be, we can get you a certificate if you'd like one to put up in your office. We could do all that. But no, we just want to thank you for doing this. You don't get paid. It's 1 month, it's a lot of things, a lot of
We get
people
in
come
free
in.
into the games.
Well,
Stop.
there you go. So,
That's how you get paid back.
Yeah.
That's something. How many games have we been?
Exactly.
But we do thank you for your support and your service to the district and to the kids of USD 420, and your leadership and guidance really sets the tone for the district, and I know we're still getting to know each other in this transition and do that. So, but I look forward to that, to working with you in the near future to set that up. But thank you for serving and serving your community. So,
Thank you.
You guys have anything to add?
No, just thank you.
Thanks for your support. All right,
all I
is that
have.
all?
Yep.
All right. I move we go into executive session to discuss confidential personnel matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception. The open meeting will resume in the library at 8:15. The board invites Mr. Hessong and Mr. Riemann to attend.
So,
Williams.
Aye.
Bellinger. Parsons. Linton,
Aye.
Heppenstall,
Aye.
Peterson, Bellinger,
Aye.
or Bowen.
Bowen, aye. I was like, I don't.
Voted twice.
Bell Okay, we're back in session. I make the motion that we accept the recommendation of Chelsea Gardner as the new preschool teacher, starting with the next school year, and the resignation of Kylie Lohmeyer as the middle school cheer sponsor.
Second.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye. I move we adjourn.
Alright, I was gonna do it.
Give it to Tyler, huh?
Oh,
I'll second it, or somebody else already did it, never mind.
okay, you're out of this,
I'm
man.
done, yeah.
Well, who seconded it?
I think Dave did.
Dave,
You can have it.
you can,
I was afraid the motion was gonna dangle. We wouldn't-
I know, I was like,
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Bowen.
aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.